organizers, the Malaysian Economic Association, I would like to extend my warmest welcome to all of you to the convention. Ladies and gentlemen, may I cordially invite on the stage Yang Berbahagia Emeritus Professor Datuk Norma Manso, President of Malaysian Economic Association, for the welcoming remarks.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. Yang Berusaha, Mr. Surendram Satasivam, Director, Macroeconomics, Ministry of Economic Affairs. Tan Sri, there are so many distinguished individuals in this room this morning, those who have contributed so much to the nation in both the economic sector and also the public sector. Datuk, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Malaysian Economic Association, I would like to extend a warm welcome to the 2019 Economic Convention. The association started this convention about 3 decades ago to provide a platform where economists and professional economists can come together and assess the performance of the economy and also discuss issues confronting the economy. This is in addition to our annual events such as the annual post-budget discussion, our post-economic report by the central bank, the discussion that we always have following the announcement or the launch of the report, and also some other events that we feel is necessary with regards to the economy. This convention is held at a particularly important juncture of our nation's economic life and also the global economy. The 14th general election, held about a year ago, marked the people's aspiration to have good governance and the rule of law. A series of reforms have been announced. Restoring robust governance is vital in its own right, but also in strengthening the foundation for an economy able not only to cope with, but also leverage new business innovations and disruptions that are occurring with increasing frequency. The association, about 2 years ago, has organized a conference and published a report on enhancing governance, specifically enhancing the most important institution in public governance, that is the Parliament, and we have recommended policies and efforts towards enhancing parliamentary committees in Malaysia. This convention provides a platform to analyze whether the reform process that has taken place thus far is on the right track, and whether the institutional governance now is on the way to face new challenges in the new industrial revolution. The sub-themes of this convention are therefore governance and reforms and the new business environment. Amidst global uncertainty due to the US-China trade war, there could be more challenges as well as opportunities for the Malaysian economy. For this year's conference, we have also added 3 special parallel sessions on issues and topics that we feel very important to the macro economy of this country. These are industrialization, capital markets, and the Malaysian economy, banking and currencies, ASEAN and Malaysia, to allow discussions and interactions among the participants and speakers in a smaller group. Hopefully, these smaller group discussions will generate new ideas for economic policy. Amidst all this turbulence, it is not hard to surmise that finance and its governance is at the center of the action. Robust financial governance will certainly reduce vulnerability to shocks. Ladies and gentlemen, some very good papers and also quality speeches and discussions, hopefully that we have invited, would be able to trigger a rich debate on issues not only of current interest, but also of vital importance to Malaysia's long-term future. We are in the middle of the preparation of the 12th plan In fact, that's the very reason why we cannot have the minister, the SecGen of MEA, and although not less important, the head of macro is here with us, but they have to divide their team because they are also working on the 12th Malaysia Plan. I congratulate the paper writers and speakers for the time and effort they spent and will spend for this convention. My thanks also go to the convention sponsors for their financial and other support, and also our former presidents of the association and committee members. Yeah, you've been very helpful. But not forgetting the most important group in this convention is Dr. Lau and his team, Mala and Nancy and all that. They're there, Dr. Soon, Dr. Ong, all of you who have helped in making this such a wonderful conference. And hopefully we get more of this kind of seminars organized, and we as participants, and although I'm a president, but to be able to enjoy these discussions and privilege, I think, compared to some others who do not necessarily have the platform for them to give their opinions on issues at hand. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to seeing you all at the convention, and have a good convention. Thank you very much.
Emeritus Professor Dr. Norma Mansor, the President of the Malaysian Economic Association, Professor Dr. Ye Kim Ling, Deputy President of the Malaysian Economic Association, committee members of the Malaysian Economic Association, Yang Berbahagia Tan Sri, Datuk Sri, Datuk, professors, doctors, distinguished speakers, panelists, and moderators, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Salam Sejahtera and a very good morning. First and foremost, on behalf of the Ministry of Economic Affairs, I would like to thank the Malaysian Economic Association for inviting the Ministry to this auspicious ceremony. I'm really honored and privileged to be invited at this function, the Malaysian Economic Convention 2019, hosted by the Malaysian Economic Association. It's a great privilege for me because I get to see my former bosses, Tan Sri Clifford. When I first joined the service, he was our KSP, Ministry of Finance. Tan Sri Sulaiman Mahbub, he was our SecGen of the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumerism. Okay, it is unfortunate that the Secretary General of the Ministry of Economic Affairs is unable to be with us today, as he's attending another important meeting with Yang Berbahagia KSN this morning. I took note that the convention will discuss about a wide range of important topics, from good governance. Good governance is actually the policy pillar number 1 in the midterm review of the 11th Malaysia Plan, and reform in the regulatory system, to innovation and disruption, as well as talent development. I can assure you that these topics will be covered in the 12th Malaysia Plan as well. As the Ministry of Economic Affairs, we have just embarked the work on the 12th Malaysia Plan. I would like to take this opportunity to share about the ministry, which is a fairly new ministry established right after the 14th general election last year. Despite we are still occupying the 2 blocks in the vicinity of the Prime Minister's department. And also briefly, I will touch on the midterm review of the 11th Malaysia Plan, as well as the initial information about the work on the 12th Malaysia Plan. Perhaps this sharing will be able to give some insights on how best the Malaysian Economic Association can contribute in the preparation of the 12th Malaysia Plan. Can you just... Okay, here I'm going to talk about the setup, the functions of the Ministry of Economic Affairs, the midterm review of the 11th Malaysia Plan, which was tabled at the Parliament by Yang Berhormat Prime Minister on the 18th October 2018, and also the preparation of post-2020 development plan. Okay, on the function, okay, I think everyone in this room, you already know that the Ministry of Economic Affairs, once we were called as Economic Planning Unit, Now it has been absorbed as the Ministry of Economic Affairs. So the main functions of the Economic Planning Unit are now under the Ministry of Economic Affairs. So we do planning, resource allocation, and the third part, which talks about the agencies, because when we were as Economic Planning Unit, we don't have any agencies under us. But as the Ministry of Economic Affairs, we have 31 agencies placed under the ministry. And we are also the Secretariat for the Economic Action Council, the National Development Planning Committee, and also others, including international meetings such as BIM, YAGA, IMT, GT, National Productivity Council, and NTJA. Thanks. Okay, this is our structure actually. I would like to go straight to the agencies under us. Okay, if you look at the agencies, there are about 31 agencies under the supervision of the Ministry of Economic Affairs. Okay, one of which is the Department of Statistics to further enhance our policy formulation, and we also have agencies, special agencies that are related to the development of certain sectors, industries and infrastructure, while agencies that are in terms of a wealth distribution agenda to reduce long-standing disparities and inequalities, and also we provide policy advisory for Petronas and Lembaga Tabung Haji. I still remember I met the former Sekjen of the Ministry of Economic Affairs about 3 months ago. He was sharing, now he's the Auditor General, Dr. Nick Azman. He was sharing with me that he feels very sad that EPU is no longer around because it has been absorbed by the Ministry of Economic Affairs. And on the 14th of May 2019, with the gazettement of the Ministers of Federal Government Orders 2019, it seems that Economic Planning Unit will make a comeback, okay, and it will be placed under the Ministry of Economic Affairs as one of the agency under the MEA. So we will have altogether 32 agencies under the supervision of the Ministry of Economic Affairs. Right now, the ministry is working together with the Public Service Department to restructure the Ministry of Economic Affairs and to bring back Economic Planning Unit. Next. MEA remains central in the development planning because if you look at the planning process, we do planning from top and also planning from bottom. And the important establishment here, it's not actually an establishment, but it's called Interagency Planning Group, IPGs. So this is a very important interagency planning group. You know, whenever we do a development planning, we always use this platform to gather ideas and feedback from the bottom and also from the top, the central agencies as well. Okay, next. Okay, on the midterm review of the 11th Malaysia Plan, okay, the midterm review was tabled by Yama Bromat, the Prime Minister, on the 18th of October 2018. This is actually a bit different from other midterm reviews because we have two parts. The first part talks about the performances from the period 2016 to 2017, okay, whereby it assesses the performance of selected outcomes and also the focus areas, issues and challenges. Whereas the part 2, it talks about the new direction from 2018 to 2020. It is prepared based on re-engagement from June to August 2018. Right before the election in May, we have already finished our midterm review. We were targeting to present midterm review in Parliament in June 2018. But because of the election, the outcome of the election, we had to have another re-engagement with the stakeholders that was done during the period June to August. We also updated about 22 strategy papers, and we mapped, the between the existing policies in the 11th Malaysia Plan and the Buku Harapan Manifesto. So the content of the part 2 is actually talks about the new policy priorities and emphasis, the strategies and initiatives, as well as the selected targets for 2020. Thanks. The midterm review is actually of the 11th Malaysia Plan is actually the new government's first policy document. So the essence of the government policy priorities will be to balance growth objectives and initiating fiscal consideration which becomes more challenging in an environment of economic uncertainty. Fiscal reform measures are necessary and needed to be implemented expeditiously. While it may have an impact on the economy, its effects are expected to be temporary in the short term. It is necessary trade-off to steer the economy on a sustainable path in ensuring more meaningful growth. More emphasis will be given to improving governance to ensure the benefits of development enjoyed by all. That's the reason why governance was made as the pillar number one, the policy pillar number one in the midterm review. Issues of inequality and disparities are addressed comprehensively to ensure inclusive growth, while structural policies will be set to prepare the economy to face new technological challenges. To summarize the midterm review of the 11th Malaysia Plan, looking at the macroeconomic perspective, the review touches about the 2016 economic slowdown, which has lowered the medium-term growth trajectory. We also highlighted many disparities, inequalities, and structural issues that still remain. Growth was less meaningful. For the remaining plan period, 2018 to 2020, less growth impetus from both domestic and external sources, heightened risks from external sector, and we also have to face the impact of fiscal consolidation initiatives on economy, which is a necessary trade-off to restore economic fundamentals. So the recommended medium-term imperatives will be to ensure balance between growth objectives and fiscal consolidation, while declaring the period 2018 to 2020 as a transition period of the new administration, and optimize transition period to implement institutional reforms and structural policies. So fiscal target may be relaxed to ensure growth continues. Here in the midterm review, we also talks about multidimensional goals for the period 2018-2020, where targets are pursued together with the qualitative aspects through respective pillars. I'll be talking about the pillars later. The first three, top one, talks about the economic indicators such as growth, labor productivity, GNI per capita, while the other three talks about the inclusivity, where it talks about the compensation of employees, mean monthly household income, and also Malaysian Wellbeing Index. If you look at the pillars, it has been mapped, accordingly. Where if we talk about growth, then the pillar 3 talks about the growth, balance, regional development. If we talk about labor productivity, pillar 4, which talks about strengthening economic growth, GNI per capita, we can see this in pillar 2 and pillar 3, while the CE, the compensation of employees, is also been discussed in pillar 4, empowering human capital, mean monthly household, and also the Malaysian well-being. It's also been mentioned thoroughly in pillar 2. The summary of the macroeconomic strategies, the strategies have been adjusted to take account new developments, whereby the 5 important strategies here, the macroeconomic strategies, will be driving productivity at all levels to ensure sustainable and inclusive growth, promoting quality investment to spearhead economic growth, embarking initiatives to move up the value chain, strengthening exports, and managing imports to improve the balance of payments, while emphasizing a fiscal consolidation part to ensure sustainability in the medium term. Okay. Like what I mentioned just now, the midterm review of the 11th Malaysia Plan, we have 6 policy pillars with altogether 19 priority areas and 66 main strategies. So if you look at pillar 1, it talks about reforming governance towards greater transparency and enhancing efficiency of public services. We have 4 priority areas with 12 strategies. Pillar 2 talks about enhancing inclusive development and well-being. Here we have 2 priority areas and 9 strategies. Pillar 3 talks about pursuing balanced regional development, 3 priority areas and 12 strategies. Empowering human capital has been discussed in Pillar 4, whereby it talks about 4 priority areas, 11 strategies. Pillar 5, enhancing environmental sustainability through green growth, 3 priority strategies and 9 priority areas and 9 strategies, while Pillar 6 talks about strengthening economic growth, 3 priority areas and 13 strategies. I'll just go through the Pillar 1. Pillar 1, which talks about reforming governance towards greater transparency and enhancing efficiency of public service. Here, we are looking at the issues and challenges, such as number 1 will be the greater awareness and expectation. Number 2, government structures. Number 3 talks about the issue on human capital development, project management, and also on capability and capacity of local authorities. So in order to address these, we have 4 priority areas, whereby priority area A talks about improving governance at all levels, whereby we have outlined 3 strategies here, which talks about strengthening check and balance mechanism, improving relationship between federal, state and local governments, and the strategy A3 talks about reforming the political system. The priority area B talks about elevating integrity and accountability, where the strategy here mentioned about enhancing anti-corruption agenda, improving transparency, inculcating noble values and ethical work practices. Priority area C talks about enforcing prudent public finance management. Here we looked into the how to improve the budgeting system, enhancing procurement management, strengthening performance management, monitoring and evaluation framework. The enhancing public service delivery is the priority area D, where the strategies will be reforming public sector institutions, redesigning public services, and also empowering local authorities. In the midterm review also, we have outlined selected targets where we talk about improving governance at all levels by reintroducing Parliamentary Services Act 1963, elevating integrity and accountability to be top 30 in the Corruption Perception Index by the Transparency International, and also enforcing prudent public finance management, 3% to GDP. The fiscal deficit is set at 3% to gross domestic product. In enhancing the public service delivery, the selected targets will be to be the top 15 in the online services sub-index of the United Nations E-Government Development Index, to be the top 10 in the government efficiency sub-index of the World Competitiveness Yearbook, and also to achieve the 90% of local authorities to achieve the minimum 4-star out of the 5-star rating based on the Sistem Penerapan Bintang Pihak Berkuasa Tempatan, SPS PBT. Okay, I think due to the time constraint, I'll just go straight to the, I will just skip the pillars and then I'll just go straight to the preparation of the post-2020 development plan. Okay, I think many of us, we are already aware, Yang Muhammad Prime Minister has already mentioned about this, the Shared Prosperity 2030. In actual fact, there is a dedicated team which is also looking at this. So this is actually in terms of long-term plan actually. So I would not want to go in detail in this because I've been informed that there will be an official announcement on this as well. So let me just go into the 12th Malaysia Plan 2021 to 2025, the development dimensions. Just for your information, just now I mentioned that our SecJan is attending a meeting with KSN. He's actually attending a meeting, KSU KP meeting, and in that meeting today, this morning, he's also going to table this in that meeting. So we are actually doing a parallel session here. Okay, if we look at the development dimensions, we have 3 development dimensions. Firstly, we talk about economic empowerment, whereby here growth drivers, we are going to talk about growth drivers and enablers, ecosystem and the imperatives. Drivers and enablers such as the 4th Industrial Revolution, digital economy, target industries and services, especially aerospace, sustainable energy, and also greater regional balance. In terms of ecosystem, we are also going to look into infrastructure and transport connectivity, progressive fiscal and tax structure, human capital realignment, governance, regulatory framework, and also the federal, state, local authority re-engineering. The imperatives will be to look at the raising innovation and productivity to next level while boosting trade and private investment. The 12th Malaysia Plan is also going to delve in detail about the environmental sustainability, whereby we are looking at the conservation and preservation, addressing the climate change, management of green and blue economy, sustainable forest management, managing energy and water resources, the circular economy, whereby we are looking at how to reduce waste and creating value from waste. On the social re-engineering, the 3rd dimension will be looking at enhancing social capital, inclusivity, and social cohesion. So here we are going to look at greater income equality with focus on B40 and M40, national unity and cohesion, social protection. We are going to look at the disadvantaged, vulnerable and aging society, independent Bumiputra, healthy and active lifestyle, affordable housing and secure nation. In moving forward for the 12th plan, we are planning to get feedback from stakeholders. Okay, these are solicited through various platforms. We have established 13 interagency planning group, IPGs, at the federal and state government interaction here. And we also have 46 technical working groups that consist of public and private sector, and a minimum of 180 focus groups which consists of public and private sectors and civil society. In the 11th Malaysia Plan, we had about 12 IPGs, 42 technical working groups, 140 focus groups, and we also had about more than 6,000 stakeholders over the 18 months period. So for the 12th plan, we expect this to be more than 6,000 stakeholders engagement. On the IPGs, I mentioned about 13 IPGs. The role of the IPG is to review the progress of past policies and programs while identifying current issues and future challenges, and to draft new policies, strategies, programs to achieve identified targets and outcomes, and draft the strategy papers. So the draft strategy papers, we have already identified about 28 strategy papers to support the 12th Malaysia Plan document. In the 11th Malaysia Plan, we had about 22 strategy papers. So these 28 strategy papers been what we call that distributed accordingly. You know, when we look at public reform and governance, we'll be talking about embedding behavioral insight in designing policy, reforming state-owned enterprise management, reforming public-private partnership towards reducing government roles in businesses, strengthening coordination and cooperation to support regional development. On the environmental sustainability, we will be talking about investing in sustainable and resilient growth, valuing natural resources for socio-economic development, water sector transformation, and also sustainable usage of energy to support growth. In the social re-engineering, the strategy papers will focus on the strengthening national unity, ensuring sustainable B40 household income, upholding Bumiputra community towards a resilient, progressive and bold society, towards 2030 creating solutions for the aging population in Malaysia, invigorating health care towards progressive nation, ensuring a safe, secure and peaceful nation, and also transforming rural areas to uplift well-being of rural communities. On the economic empowerment dimension, the strategy papers will focus on driving modernization in agro-food, delivering economic and social prosperity through agri-commodity, energizing manufacturing sector, translating innovation to wealth, aerospace, fostering a robust services sector, digitalizing Malaysian economy, making connection, seamless transport system and logistics, progressing towards sustainable cities, strengthening TVET to meet industry demand, inclusive labor for prosperous nation, revitalizing education system, reinvigorating higher education system. So you can see that we have about 28 strategies to support our 12th Malaysia Plan document. Just to illustrate about the interagency planning group, I just took one example here, how extensive the stakeholders in engagement will be. This is the IPG on human capital development. Okay, we have 4 technical working groups here, each talking about one on education, higher education, TVET, and also on labor market. So with 4 technical working groups and 25 focus groups, we expect to come up with the 4 strategy papers which I've mentioned just now. So on top of these IPGs, TWGs, and also focus groups, we are also going to have a kickoff conference. It's going to happen in the first week of July, and we are also going to solicit ideas and feedback through online public consultation and also road shows in every states. In order to also to emphasize how the federal ministries are also engaged in this 12th Malaysia Plan through the IPGs, you can see here almost all the ministries are being engaged, and they come in what we call that to give their ideas and feedback to the IPGs. So finally, on the milestone in preparing the 12th Malaysia Plan, the circular, KSN's circular on the 12th Malaysia Plan preparation was issued on the 16th April 2019. So as what I mentioned just now, there will be a kick-off conference during the first week of July, and the budget circular will be issued sometime in September. The strategy papers will be presented to the NDPC in February 2020, and again the 12th Malaysia Plan will be presented to the NDPC in July, and the 12th Malaysia Plan also will be presented to the PM's special committee in August 2020, and we expect to table this to Cabinet in August 2020, and the 12th Malaysia Plan will be tabled in Parliament in October 2020. I think that is all I want to share about the 12th Malaysia Plan. So, on behalf of the ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Ministry of Economic Affairs, I would like to wish all of you a great success in your deliberation during the 2 days of this convention. On that note, with great pleasure, I officially open the Malaysian Economic Convention 2019. With that, thank you.